Hello, everyone. Welcome to Good Film Hunting, a podcast about an average couple who are on the hunt for some good movies. In today's world, we are consuming more media than ever, perhaps more passively than ever. But we believe that by documenting and discussing the media we intake, how and what we intake will change for the better. It is important that we don't just become another consumer, but a participant, seeking to engage with the media we consume, so that we can see how our view of the world affects how we perceive it, and how it affects how we perceive the world. In this podcast, we are not only on the hunt for some good movies, but on the hunt for a good discussion. So, lean in, participate, and enjoy. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Good Film Hunting. James Scott here, and beside me is my co-host.
Ooh, co-host.
Yeah, co-host.
Nice. Hello.
What's your name? You're supposed to say your name. You were supposed to say your name.
Oh, sorry. This is Savannah, the co-host.
The co-host.
Yes.
Savannah, the co-host. She'll forevermore be known as Savannah, the co-host, vice president, and the other labels, I guess, that would be attributed to this position. Yes, we are going to be reviewing a movie that, to be completely honest, I never thought I'd see, let alone did I ever think I would be talking about it in review.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Never occurred to me, ever.
To watch it?
No, that we'd be ever doing this as a review.
Oh.
I think The Notebook would have been one I probably would have been, would have thought of more as doing possibly, but, maybe one day in the future, but as of right now, we've seen it, we're just not reviewing it.
Yes.
But before we begin, how are you doing, Savannah? It's been rough, a little bit of a rough evening with the babies.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Doing good?
Yeah, ready to talk about this movie.
Yeah. What is this movie?
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Wow, you had a big fat Greek wedding?
I did. Actually, no. Our wedding was the least big, fat, and Greek wedding I've ever been to.
It's true. It was a pretty tiny wedding, and it wasn't very fat, and not very Greek either.
No, not really.
What was the most Greek aspect about it?
I don't know. The fact that we got married with the intention to have children immediately.
I guess so.
Other than that, nothing. Maybe the fact that we both have big families.
It's true.
Not very Greek big families.
I know. Just our two immediate families, that's a lot of people.
It's true.
Not including extended family. So if you're listening in for the first time, let me give a brief breakdown of the episode just so you can get familiar with it. I've got a list of facts about the movie for Savannah that most of them she most likely does not know. She might know more of these than previous ones because I don't know what she's looked into for this movie.
I haven't researched really anything.
Okay, so that's good. Then we'll share our general thoughts on the movie. We'll share our favorite moment of the movie. Savannah's going to recap the plot in 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
She has to occupy all 5 minutes. So she can't go over 5 minutes, but she has to, can't be 1 minute, give a one sentence summary. She has to fill it up.
Wow,
with
this
details.
is complicated.
I know, right? Don't overthink it. Just go with it, right?
Okay,
Just
I'm
go with
trying
your
to
gut.
remember the plot. Okay.
Not yet. Then we'll go through our rating system where we have 4 categories that we'll rate on a scale of 1 to 5. We will share our overall rating at the end, decide whether this movie gets the recommended stamp of approval for our good film hunting list. That is kind of official / unofficial at this point. And then at another point in time, we will watch the movie and hopefully review it if everything goes well.
There you go.
There you go. So Savannah, you ready for some facts about my big fat Greek wedding?
Yes, please tell me.
All right. Well, I got married. No. This film was released February 22 or 22nd. I don't know. Nobody says it 22.
February 22.
February 22, 2002. I'm just going to read it like that. 2002. February 22nd, 2002 is directed by Joel Zwick. I don't really recognize anything he's done. He seems to kind of do things up, in a similar vein to this. This film was distributed by IFC Films in the USA and Equinox Films in Canada, because this film is kind of a Canadian film, actually. It has a runtime of 95 minutes, and guess the budget.
Is it high or low?
Well,
10
it's
million.
lower than that.
5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
5
what I was
million.
going to guess first.
Were you?
I thought
Okay.
that was a little low.
That was low. No, only 5 million. That's pretty good. Want to know the box office, or do you not want to know?
No, I want to know.
You want to know? It had a box office of 366.7 million on
Wow.
a 5 million budget.
That's crazy.
So it made its money back.
That's so weird that it made that much.
Yep. It was the ninth highest grossing film of 2002, which actually puts it right above Minority Report that we reviewed.
I wonder if that's why they made a sequel and a trequel.
Probably, yeah.
I doubt those did as well as the first.
Probably not, no.
After watching the second one, I won't give spoilers, but
You won't give spoilers? Oh, yeah, I'll probably never see it personally.
it was a classic sequel.
A classic sequel?
Yeah, just like weird. Like, you know when sequels just have like really weird plots sometimes and just like weird characters? I don't know. It was just like, it was like
I need a little more.
it was like Open Season 2 or something.
Or
just like,
Mulan 2.
Mulan 2.
Okay.
It wasn't like low. It was just kind of weird. I don't know.
Just kind of
It
weird?
just wasn't the same.
Well, that's good to know.
Yes.
I guess. Its box office meant it was the 5th highest grossing film of 2002 in the United States and Canada, with $241,438,208 just in the U.S., which made it the highest grossing romantic comedy domestically in history. It still hasn't been beat. Domestically, it also held the record for the highest grossing film never to have been a #1 in the weekly North American box office charts until 2016 with the release of the animated film Sing.
And then Sing was what?
Sing, so basically this is the highest grossing film, domestically it was the highest grossing film to have never been #1 in the weekly North American box office charts.
That's a very complicated.
I know, it's a little convoluted.
And then Sing was.
And then Sing beat it
surpassed
out in 2016.
So it was like the highest grossing, less popular movie.
Kind of, right,
Okay.
yeah. However, adjusted for inflation, the gross of My Big Fat Greek Wedding was still higher, equivalent to that of $322 million in 2016. So technically, Sing, like, it beat it, but not really, not truly. So
Gotcha.
you could argue it's still the king. The film is among one of the most profitable of all time, with a 6,150% return rate. Also inflation adjusted.
Wow.
So if you were to inflate it to what it would have been today with 6 million as opposed to the 5 million budget, it's still like one of the most highest.
That's so weird.
That's pretty crazy. The score was by Chris Wilson. He seems to be more of a songwriter and a musician rather than like a typical film composer. The film stars Nia Vardalos, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, as Toula, who, by the way, wrote this screenplay.
Oh, interesting.
We're getting a lot of these writers, actor, director kind of situations
I know.
lately. She is Greek, but she's also Canadian. So she's of Greek heritage, but grew up in Canada. So, kind of complicated naturally. It has Josh Corbett as Ian Miller, Leanne Kazan as Tula's mother, and Michael Constantine as Gus, or Tula's father.
Gotcha.
Development, I wanted to pull this up because it was kind of long and complicated, and I want to give you the gist of it. So you asked me if Tom Hanks produced this. Turns out he did produce this.
Interesting.
Because here's what happened. So My Big Fat Greek Wedding started as a 1-minute, 45-minute monologue workshop written and starring Nia Vardalos. So I guess it was kind of like in La La Land, like like a single person stage production.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And then she went. It kind of went. It was tested. Went on tour in Chicago, Toronto, and Europe. And eventually, who was it who went to see it? Rita Wilson happened to see it and loved it, and Rita Wilson happens to be married to Tom Hanks. So she got him to go see it. He saw it, naturally. He really liked it. So you can kind of see where this is going.
Interesting.
This production grabbed a lot of attention in Hollywood. People wanted to turn it into a movie, but a lot of the things they were requesting didn't sit right with Nia, because they didn't want to cast her as the main actress, which seems to be a common theme. They also wanted to change the family's ethnicity to Hispanic, because I guess that's a little more popular. But she declined all of it, and then Tom Hanks, his production company, went ahead and contracted to produce the film for her. And so he actually helped her go on tour for a couple more months, and then make
He
a
really
movie.
believed in this
I know,
story.
he really believed in it, and it turned out to be great. A great
Very
choice.
profitable. He probably is grateful that he did
I
that.
know, right? Even though most of the film does take place in Chicago, most of it was shot in Toronto.
Okay.
So yeah, very, very Canadian. It's kind of like, Lord of the Rings, where it's like American produced, but it was all done in New Zealand kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Fun facts about this. Let's see. Oh, going back to Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson. In an interview with a German magazine, Cinema, Nia's mentioned that she hung up when Tom Hanks called her because she did not believe it was really him.
I feel like that's happened somewhere before.
Probably. And according to Nia, she said that paying for catering during the film proved not to be a problem. Wherever the film was being shot, whatever local Greek restaurants learned about it, they sent over lots of free food.
That sounds very
fashion.
Greek. That's funny.
So those are all the facts I have for you. Not as elaborate as some of the previous ones, but still fun.
I know,
That was
that's
kind of funny.
interesting.
Yeah, I had no idea this movie was like as
Culturally iconic.
Yeah, like I've heard about it, to be completely honest, and an embarrassment to me. I always thought it was My Big Fat Geek Wedding.
Oh no.
I didn't know it was Greek.
Ew.
I know.
That'd be a really gross, weird movie.
I know, right? But luckily it was not that.
I know. That's funny.
So, now that that's out of the way, Savannah, what were your general thoughts on this movie and your history, if you have any?
I don't really have a history with this movie. I feel like I've heard of it. And
Well, suddenly, like one day you brought it up to me, like, "Oh, I want to see this movie. If you see this, let me know." What sparked that?
I was watching Cinema Therapy, and it was like therapist ranking movie relationships, and he ranked Ian and Toula's relationship like highest.
Oh, that's nice.
Or high on his list. Like
Okay.
he ranked. So, I was like, oh, interesting. I've heard of this movie. I've never wanted to watch it because the title just weirded me out. Like My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Like, I don't know.
Right.
It just seemed weird. I've heard of spin-offs of this movie, like My Big Fat Egyptian Wedding or something.
Interesting. So it's kind of like a Kung Fu Panda situation where everybody wants to do
Yeah.
their own version because it was so popular.
Yeah. So, yeah, not really much history though. I don't really know where I first heard about it, but my general thoughts on the movie were that it was interesting. It
Interesting.
was very. I feel like I say that about every movie.
You kind of do, yeah.
Sorry. I'll redo that. So, my general thoughts on the movie were that it. Stop. I made it so you could cut it.
It's too late now.
So, my general thoughts on this movie. It was. I would not say unique.
Okay.
I feel like it's a very typical rom-com in a lot of ways.
Right.
I found it kind of annoying.
Annoying.
In some ways,
okay.
like I just found maybe it's because I'm riding on the low of the sequel right now because I just watched it. The family got, I think, progressively more annoying. maybe in the second one.
Okay.
So,
I don't remember you expressing any sort of annoyance towards the end of the first one.
Maybe my judgment has been clouded, but I feel like, I don't know. I'm feeling annoyed, but I think it's because of the sequel.
Okay.
And not because of the first one.
Huh. Very interesting.
But yes, I thought it was fun though in a lot of ways. Like I liked Toula's character. I thought she and Ian had really good chemistry.
Really good chemistry?
I thought they had good chemistry.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you said, you don't like him. You think he's lame.
Shh, don't spoil my thoughts.
Sorry.
Okay?
Sorry.
I get to tell my thoughts.
Sorry. I liked Toula and Ian's chemistry. Thought it was.
I'm not editing that.
I thought certain aspects of the plot were fairly unclear as I could go to in writing, but in general, it was a fun movie. It was fun to watch.
Okay. Like I said, I've kind of heard about this movie for a long time, but I thought its name was not what it actually was, as I just established.
I'm picturing a lot of different things if it was called what you thought it was called.
Don't picture it too hard. What was I going to say? I thought it was fun overall, but I felt like there are probably better versions of this story out there that I would much rather watch.
Yeah.
I can kind of see why, some of the producers in Hollywood were like, oh, go Hispanic, right? Because you have, I don't know all the tropes, but big, loud families that are close together, very, stereotypically Hispanic, right? So you can kind of see why they were leaning towards that because it's a little more recognizable.
Yeah, I feel like Greek is not a culture that we see a lot in the United States.
Which definitely made this more of, a quirky movie.
Yeah.
But Coco or Encanto, just as Disney animated films, more recent ones, I felt like they kind of handled that dynamic of family a bit better. I'd much rather watch those movies than this one. And I haven't even seen Encanto all the way through. I've just seen probably 3/4 of it at this point. But yeah, I feel like there was a better version of this story out there. I was not invested in the romantic relationship whatsoever. I did not think the characters had good chemistry. I thought the main actor, not the actor, the character he played was just one of my least favorite characters I've seen on screen in a long time. He was
I think that's
bland.
because you're jealous.
No, he was bland. He was boring. He was way too good. He was the perfect guy. And if I'm being honest, and this is just personal opinion, I just did not think he was that great looking.
Okay.
I thought Nia as a character is fine. I almost wanted her to be a little more dorky, maybe.
Really?
To lean into it just a little bit more. Because I felt like it was kind of a mild version. But I thought, aside from that, there were some other fun elements, like the whole stereotype of what men and women should do in the family. And, because Toula was old, not married, people were getting worried about her. What's going on with you? And everyone had to, appease to the father of the family. We have to make sure that he thinks this is his idea, so we're going to manipulate the situation and give hints, and then he'll come up with the idea on his own. So, I thought those aspects of it were fun. But as a movie, I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay. And I'm sorry that I'm not more high on this.
No, I'm not. You'll find out my opinion as this progresses, but I'm not offended by your thoughts. I'm only offended by one of them.
One of them. I wonder which one that is. Did you have a favorite moment of the movie?
Favorite moment? Not particularly. The moment where Ian and Toula meet and he's waving at her weirdly through the window was funny.
Was it funny?
It was humorous.
It was humorous.
And just being weird and creepy.
Weird and creepy? That was your favorite moment?
I don't know. It was funny. I'm trying to think. I don't know what else my favorite moment was. Don't judge my favorite moment.
Oh, no. You just used the word creepy.
Well, he was being kind of creepy. He was like staring at her through the window.
It's true. That's not good behavior. My favorite moment of the movie was definitely when Toula is enamored with Ian. He comes in, she like goes to get him something, and then gets like, she forgets she's wearing a headset, and then gets yanked back by the cord, because I've never experienced anything quite that dramatic, but I can definitely relate to like, forgetting to remove something with a cord on me and like, be like, oh, got me there.
That was funny.
That was funny. It was very relatable. So that was probably my favorite moment of the movie.
See, this isn't fair because you have time to write notes and prepare your thoughts.
It's not a matter... I don't have that much time. I don't take that much time. You could do it too if you wanted. So now we're moving into very spoiler-filled territory if you've not seen this movie yet. And, you're hooked and you want to see this, even though, some of our opinions aren't super high. Then leave, come back, or... maybe you don't care about spoilers, so you can keep listening. So, Savannah, you've got 5 minutes to recap the plot in as much detail as you can in 5 minutes. So, are you ready for this? Are you ready for the challenge?
I'm scared that I won't be able to separate this plot from the second one.
Well, we'll find out. If it starts to sound like a weird fever dream, I'll be like, I don't think this is the right movie. So, I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right, ready, set, go.
So... once upon a time, there was a girl named Toula who was like 30, and she was part of a large Greek family, and she was not married, which we all know is a cardinal sin in the Greek culture, because women are to get married and to have children. And she's 30 and has not done that. She's very frumpy.
Frumpy?
She doesn't take good care of herself, it seems. I mean, she seems like she has good hygiene, but like, that's it. She doesn't really make an effort.
Oh, sorry.
She doesn't make an effort. This is my recap.
Sorry.
She doesn't make an effort to look pretty or desirable. And so she's kind of just existing. She works in her family's restaurant. And she one day decides that she wants to learn how to use computers.
Very nice.
And so... but before that happens, she is waiting at a table, and this guy and his friend are there eating, and his friend is super attractive in her opinion, and she's like staring at him and like pouring the coffee in the wrong cup and just being weird. And then I think after that is when she decides she wants to learn computers. And so she goes, she learns how to use computers, she like brushes up on her skills, and she ends up through college, her college experience, kind of like starts wearing makeup and doing her hair and wearing nice clothes. And so she looks better, and she's like making friends. I don't think she runs into him at college.
No, I don't think so.
But he's a teacher.
Right.
And so she gets more attractive and stuff, and she ends up working for her aunt as a travel agent. Not, finding trips for her aunt, but like her aunt's travel agent company. And she runs into Ian again, and he actually pays attention to her because she's good looking, which is very depressing.
Very depressing.
Poor Toula. But he starts paying attention to her. They end up flirting. He comes in the place. He asks her on a date. They go on a couple dates. And then she's like, we can't do this because my family's huge and weird. And he's like, I like you and I want to work this out. Or I want to get to know you better. And so he kisses her. And then they have this whirlwind romance where they go out and they kiss a lot and stuff. It's very scandalous. And he doesn't really meet her family until later on. But he meets her family. They are disappointed that she's with this guy because he's not Greek and he's a vegetarian, which are two sins also.
Oh, that's right.
And so he kind of spends time trying to convince them to like him, and he ends up converting to Greek Orthodox. He tries to convince them to like him. He meets them pretty much right around the time he decides to propose.
Okay.
And so he proposes to her. He becomes Greek Orthodox.
2 minutes.
They start planning their wedding, but the family wants to be once he becomes Greek Orthodox, they're like, oh, cool, it's fine, like, whatever. And so they start planning this wedding, and her family, she has an aunt and a cousin, and, well, lots of cousins, but the main characters involve her aunt and her cousin. And they start planning the wedding, and her whole family kind of takes control of the whole situation and, like, starts doing things that she doesn't necessarily want, but, like, she kind of just goes with it because they're her family and she can't say no. And so the latter half of the movie is basically them planning her wedding, deciding what dress she's going to wear, and then they get married. And they live happily ever after. I guess.
Got 1 minute to fill. You gotta fill that last minute.
Well, side note, her dad is obsessed with Windex.
Right.
And so he's spraying it on everything
right,
because he thinks it can fix everything, which I don't understand where that even comes from. Maybe that's like a Greek thing. I highly doubt it, though. But that's a kind of weird side plot where he's just constantly trying to fix things with Windex and spray it on stuff. But anyway, her sister is a very good Greek woman and has several children.
Right.
And she's kind of compared to her, I think. And Toula doesn't like that. But Ian ends up assimilating into the family well, and they like him for the most part. His family's pretty weird. I think her family compares them to, like, toast.
Right.
And it's very true. And his family just gets weirder as the sequel goes on, too.
Oh, no.
But yeah, anyway, they all live happily ever after.
The end.
In Greek happiness.
Greek happiness? What is Greek happiness?
Oh, and then also Toula's parents gift them with a house once they get married, which is, like, kind of like this super cool gesture, and you're like, wow, they're so generous and nice. Then you find out that the house is next door to them.
I know, I knew that was going to happen.
Which sounds like something my family would do if they had money to buy a house.
I know, right?
There are some parallels between my family and this family. My family is not Greek.
There's true. They're definitely not Greek. Well, there you go. There you go. You did it. How do you feel?
Sorry, as I was going through that, I'm like, there's not really much of a plot to this movie.
Yeah.
It's just kind of happening.
Going along. You know how it is. All right, so now we're moving into our rating system. We got 4 categories that we'll rate on a scale of 1 to 5, which includes entertainment, production quality, writing, as well as content. Savannah, on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give this for entertainment?
Probably a 4.
Okay.
It was fun. Like, it was, I like a rom-com.
You like a rom-com?
I do. It was definitely not the best rom-com ever, like you said. Like, you've seen the story done better in other places, and, like, if I were given the choice to watch this or, some of the other rom-coms that I've watched recently or a new rom-com, I don't know if I'd go with this one.
Okay.
But it was entertaining. I thought it was pretty straightforward.
True.
A little cringy.
Just a little bit.
But I would say it was generally, like, as far as entertainment goes, probably a 4.
Okay. I would give it a 3. There was never a tense moment, which I wish there had been a little bit more of a tense moment.
There wasn't
was
really
never
like a
any
misunderstanding
tension.
or attention.
And I didn't need that between the couple so much as between her or the family or the guy and the family or something. Like, they had silly moments like, how dare you, go out with this guy who's not Greek, but, like, the guy's just so perfect and chill and does all the right things. It's like, ugh. So yeah,
he just wants to be with her, so he'll do anything, which even means becoming baptized into a religion that he doesn't even follow.
I know, right? What does that even mean? There's never really any super silly moment that, like, made me laugh or, like, chuckle a lot. It was just, there were, like, little things here and there.
I will say, you did laugh quite enthusiastically with the headset moment.
It was funny because it was relatable, but, like, I can't say that. Like, just it's relatable. That's all I
would say. Other than that, other than like maybe like one moment, most of the moments that were supposed to be funny were kind of just like.
Maybe like the really ugly bridesmaid dress, like reveal was really funny.
Yes.
It was because the way Toula gasps and that was pretty funny.
I know, but I would say most of the other like moments that were supposed to be funny, we were kind of just like.
We're just like whatever. I felt like the film's version of trying to be silly was just everyone, this big family being super loud and crazy and partying a lot, which just seems kind of lazy. Because it's not
Did they party a lot?
Yeah, there was the wedding, there was meeting the family. I felt like maybe there's one other moment, I can't remember for sure, but like, it's just, to me, it didn't really strike any writing brilliance. It was just kind of like, put a bunch of people together and they're all having a party and it's crazy and chaotic, but like, what is this actually? This is not doing anything for me. I guess a funny moment would be when Toula's father is introducing everyone and like everyone's names are just pretty much all the same and there are lots of Nicks.
Yes. That was
and
funny
this is
too.
Nick and Nick and Nick.
And Nikki.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I think those are all the notes I had about entertainment. It was a 3. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it, this one time. But like, it's not one I would ever sit down and watch again. If it's like a group setting, everyone's like, "Hey, let's watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding." I'm not gonna be like, "Oh no, not that one."
Yeah, like, I would not consider this, like, a classic rom-com that I would go back and rewatch every year, like I would, like, You've Got Mail.
Gotcha.
For some reason, like, You've Got Mail, I feel like it's, like, a yearly rewatch.
Rewatch?
Yeah. I need to find some more good rom-coms. It's just hard to find, like, clean rom-coms.
It's true. There are a lot of scary ones out there.
No, and, like, we'll go into in content. But this one, at least, I feel like was pretty clean for the most part for a rom-com.
It's true. What would you give this on a scale of 1 to 5 for overall production quality, cinematography, score, acting?
I feel like it was pretty good considering it had such a small budget of $5 million.
I know, right?
Yeah, and like, so for me, there are certain movies I don't expect to be cinematic, and rom-coms are definitely fall into that category.
Right.
Definitely was not cinematic at all. It was definitely very early 2000s.
Right.
But like, nothing stood out to me as being bad.
It's true.
As far as that goes. Like, I thought it was pretty generic, but it wasn't. It wasn't bad, and it wasn't. I don't have high expectations for rom-coms, so I would say the acting was good too. I thought. See, and acting is one thing I do have high expectations for.
It's true.
And for the most part, rom-coms, especially new ones, are pretty bad as far as acting goes. So I thought the acting was good.
Okay.
Especially considering these actors weren't really people I knew anything about.
Right.
I think the guy is from another fairly well-known movie.
Yin?
Yeah.
I think it was like Sex in the City or something. Production quality, I would give it a 3. I thought You've Got Mail felt a little better produced than this, and it was a little bit older. Like, I felt like, and they probably had a bigger budget, probably quite a bit of a bigger budget than $5 million. But like, I don't know, there's just nothing about this that stood out as being particularly well done, and that wasn't this movie's goal. It's not like they were trying to push any sort of cinematic masterpiece, I guess, so much as just telling a goofy story. So it's not like it loses a point because of that. It is what it is, and I just thought it was okay. There's nothing stood out to me as being particularly good or awful in that regard. It just existed, and it was there, and the end.
Well, there were like 3 locations that it was filmed to, like,
right.
Like not really 3, but it wasn't like a very big movie. Right, I feel like You've Got Mail, even though that was probably even smaller as far as like how many places in the movie there were. that they like frequently visited. It was just a much bigger movie. It felt bigger,
right.
maybe because it was in New York and the buildings were tall or something.
It's true.
But yeah, You've Got Mail just came across as more cinematic than
right. But
and that's
I mean,
probably like a
the
director
thing,
choice too.
yeah. I mean, for me, I guess what would push the quality is if they took advantage of the film medium to tell the story and like elevate the storytelling through that. The thing about, you know, rom-coms or some other genres is that they just kind of tell a story and it happens to be through a movie, but like it's not necessarily benefited by being told as a movie. So it's just kind of like I'm watching this, but I'm not feeling like it deserves to be on screen, so to speak. Like,
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, it's just the acting is so good and so fun, and that's in and of itself is enough. But to me, that wasn't even good enough in this regard.
Yeah.
What would you give this on a scale of 1 to 5 for writing, which includes the plot, character arcs, dialogue?
Probably 3 for writing. It just wasn't super exciting.
Right.
Again, like you said, there have been many other stories similar to this that have been more well done. Like, I think the biggest part for me that kind of stood out as not being super interesting for writing was Toula's quote transformation.
Right.
And how, like, literally she just, like, went to college casually and, like, started wearing makeup. And then that's kind of, like, there was no, like, big transformation moment that would, like, indicate why Ian started paying attention to her. Because he, like, totally ignored her the first time they met. And then he was, like, hitting on her like crazy when he saw her for the second time.
Right.
So that would be the biggest, like, not plot hole, but, you know.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, missed opportunity. I thought that I did like the tropes that were involved.
The tropes.
The tropes. I don't know. I'm a fan of tropes, especially cultural tropes. They're just funny and interesting to me. And I thought that even though I don't know a ton about the Greek culture, I do know a lot about, or not a lot, but like, you know, I'm familiar with ethnic family tropes. And so it was just funny to be like, you know, the dad has a certain vibe and way about him, and the family treats him a certain way.
Right. Head of the family.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. I did enjoy the tropes. But nothing super great stood out about the writing.
Right. Yeah.
Like, Ian and Toula's relationship didn't really, like, have a super great arc.
No.
But again, the movie wasn't necessarily about their relationship so much as like their relationship to her family.
Right.
Which also wasn't super well written and fleshed out in my opinion.
No.
So yeah, I would say 3. It fell a little short for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think 3 is a solid number for this. There was just nothing particularly special about this story, I felt, because it just didn't really lean into any aspect well enough for me to be really hooked, whether that was the romantic relationship or Toula's relationship to her family or their romantic relationship to the family. It just kind of was, and I needed a little more, for it to be a comedy, I needed a little more kookiness for my preference. Like,
yeah. Maybe you would like the second one better then.
Maybe, I don't know. But even like just as you were saying, the emotional arcs in this film were not there. Like the most kind of emotional moment was when Toula's dad buys the house for them at the end. But there was no build up to that. There was never a conversation prior. It was just kind of like, oh, how sweet. And then the joke is, you know, it's literally next door. So it just kind of, that to me kind of shot it in the foot a little bit. I just needed something to build up to that a little more, whether that was, you know, a consistent something about the house or where they were going to live was a reoccurring topic or theme in the house, or maybe the dad had like, well, we'll never help you find a house kind of thing. Like, I needed more, once again, more tension between some aspect of this story, whether it was Toula and her family or specifically with her dad. I think that was a missed opportunity. Or even Ian in the family, because Ian was just the most perfect guy ever. He was just so perfect and good and did everything right. Except, when he was gullible and Toula's brother, made him say inappropriate things a couple times. But, like, he was so bland. He was so bland. And I did not like the romantic relationship at all because it escalated really quickly in that, Toula kind of has a crush on this guy. He jokes around. Next scene, in the back of this, wherever Toula's working, I'm forgetting, talking like they've like had hours to talk, or maybe days, I don't know. But then they don't show the passage of time well, so it just feels like they've gone on 2-night dates kind of thing.
I know.
And they're like, oh, I love you so much. But we don't see any of that. And then they build the relationship upon, lots of kissing and making out, which I feel like we get more screen time of that building up the relationship than them actually getting to know each other, which just, and then that doesn't work.
After they sleep together in his apartment, he proposes to her.
I know, it's just like, that's not.
Which we all know that you feel like proposing. It's
true.
Every time.
Every time.
And so that's not a really good. You can edit that out. That's just not a really good basis for a relationship.
I know, right? It's not at all.
At least not the first time you sleep with someone.
Yeah. But there was just, the only kind of character arcs there was, the three that I noticed would be Toula, I guess, kind of having to make peace with her family in terms of or being okay with her family not being embarrassed by them with this relationship, but that never really went anywhere and wasn't even that prevalent because everything went by so quickly. The other one was the dad being okay with Ian being brought into their life, but there was never a scene where he and Ian had any sort of major conflict and they sat down and had a conversation and saw each other for who they really were, or had any sort of event together, so that wasn't even a thing.
Well, the dad just kind of ranted about how Ian didn't ask if he
Right, and that was it, and it was over. And then the biggest arc, which was not believable whatsoever, was Ian's parents' relationship to the family, just being so awkward and put off by their extravagantness. And then towards the end, because they had to wrap everything up super nice, it's they're super happy suddenly and whatever.
Yeah, and in the second one, the parents are even weirder. It's they're like aliens. They don't really have personalities. And they don't really know how to interact in the real world, it feels like. And yes, the second one's even worse.
I'm sorry.
I will say, I think my favorite moment of the movie, now that I'm thinking about it, was the moment when you told me that the dad looked like our baby. And then every time I think about him and see him,
he was sitting in a dark room pouting with a super sad face, and his head was really round.
He literally looks just like our baby.
And then our little baby, yeah, he did. It was funny.
I know. I kind of want to put side-by-side photos because they do look very similar.
I'm sorry. What is it, Michael Constantine?
No, I can't unsee that now. Don't be sorry. Our baby's very cute.
It's true.
You should be honored to be.
You should be honored, Michael Constantine. I don't know if he's even alive anymore. So, moving on to our last category, content, where we weigh the more negative elements in the movie, sexual content, profanity, violence against them, just the overall story, the more positive aspects, whether it had a place, whether it was unnecessary. Something on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give this?
Well, let's see. There's no violence.
Right.
There's no real language.
Right.
I think the PG-13 rating is just that there's a lot of making out.
Right. Yeah.
I would say I'd probably give it 3 for content. Well, maybe 4. I don't know.
Okay.
Like,
well,
I wouldn't.
one or the other.
I wouldn't consider it like family. I don't know. Would I consider it family friendly? Probably not. There's a lot of making out, and kissing and such.
It's true.
It's probably 3.
Probably 3.
Yeah. That's not like offensive. Like I didn't watch it. Well, maybe I'll give it a 4. Yeah,
Okay.
It wasn't offensive. It was just a little.
True.
It was a little more mature than some movies, but not bad.
Right. I solidly give this a 3. Solidly. Like, I'm not going back and forth between 3 and 4. Just the fact that the whole relationship was built on scandal, making out, whatever you want to call it. Scandal's not a common way to refer to it. It never, like, got really bad or anything or graphic, but, like, there was... The whole relationship was built up on that. There was a lot of it. And then it was just kind of like, I don't know, it feels unnecessary. You could put better things in this film that would contribute to the story than showing me all of this. And
I will say, though, like, I feel like that's kind of how relationships, and I don't know how movies are today, because I don't really watch a lot of modern rom-coms, but that's kind of how relationships were portrayed back in, like, the 90s. And
I mean, even if it's how they're portrayed, it doesn't make it okay, in my opinion.
No, but, like, that's kind of just how movies were.
Right. And I just say there was the side character, I guess Toula's cousin, who is...
She's a little scandalous.
She's a little scandalous.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of cleavage in this movie.
Yeah, a lot. And then there's that whole scene where, like, she was supposed to be the godmother for Ian.
Oh, that was weird.
And that was just obviously supposed to be really awkward and funny, but, like, I just had so many questions, so it wasn't really funny. And there was the whole bridesmaid dress scene. It was just a little much going on. Which, to me, I felt like that kind of had a little more appropriate context because it was... That's what the kookiness I wanted the movie to lean into a little bit more, because it was just so absurd, the whole situation, that I just felt like the rest of the movie didn't quite get to that level. But specifically with Toula's cousin, like, it's just, to me, she was just a character that existed, and there was no particular reason she was the way she was. Like, it didn't add anything to the story. Like, it didn't cause any tension between maybe Ian and Toula herself, or, like, yeah, it is what it was. And I felt like you could have removed her from the story and it would have been perfectly fine.
She's just the token, like,
overtly
like immodest and just annoying character.
Right.
Maybe I'll give it a 3 too, actually, now that you're saying that. Because, I give it a 3.
You give it a 3? Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't watch this with kids.
No.
Definitely not young boys.
There's just nothing about it that I feel like is super, like, a kid would enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's just not really, like, kid friendly in general.
Right. Okay. So that was our rating. Savannah, you gave it a 4, a 3, and a 3. I gave it 3s for all 4 categories. What would you say your overall rating tends to be? And would you recommend it? Who would you recommend it to?
I would give it a 3.
Okay.
I would not recommend it.
Okay.
I would tell people I watched it. Like, if I was talking to my sister or something, be like, yeah, I watched this. Would I recommend it? No. So, yeah. It wasn't bad. It wasn't offensive. It just was not super great. It was kind of snooze.
Yeah.
It was kind of similar in vibes to, like, Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
Oh.
like a movie that's like, what? Actually, no, I honestly kind of liked Beverly Hills Chihuahua. I would watch that before I would watch this. I would watch Beverly Hills Chihuahua 1 and 2.
I only saw the first one, and I don't remember it that well. I don't think I was ever allowed to see the second one.
And I feel like I've seen the second one. I don't know, but we should watch Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
Should we? Beverly Hills Chihuahuas review.
I know. That's actually a good movie.
I'll take your word for it.
It's definitely cringy, but it's good. But anyway, I would not recommend this movie. I would give it a 3. And I would not add it to the list of good film hunting movies.
Yeah. I'd give it a 2.5.
Wow.
Right, even perfectly, in the middle. It wasn't bad and offensive like you were saying, like offensively bad. It was kind of mediocre. I don't judge anyone for liking this movie, for loving this movie. I can see how
it would be like a cult classic.
Yeah, I can see why people would find this appealing. So no judgment there. I feel like I'd rather watch other things and use my time watching other stories. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it personally, like you said, and I think we both agree. It just unfortunately does not get to join the list of good film hunting films.
I will say I did like Ian's character. And I like Toula too. She's kind of dorky.
Toula,
she's a little dorky,
yeah,
but
I didn't.
I liked her. And I also liked, just as a side note, I liked that she was a very realistic looking person. Like, I feel like in a lot of rom-coms, like, the women are super skinny and, like, a certain vibe. And Toula just kind of literally looks like a 30-year-old woman.
Right.
Like, she's not super skinny. She's just, like, kind of exists. And she's a person. And Ian loves her and finds her attractive.
Yeah.
And she's attractive. But she's just, like, she's a kind of, like, she looks like a person who wrote a play that they based this movie off of. Like, she looks like a person who they cast because she wrote it.
Mm-hmm. And most people didn't want to cast her. It was only because Tom Hanks.
Yeah. But she just looks very average. And I think she's cute, but she's just natural.
I'm happy that I'm blanking on her name, Nia?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nia. I'm happy that she was able to pursue in getting this turned into a motion picture. Like, I'm sure that was a dream come true. And the fact that
it was so successful.
It was so successful. It started as a fairly successful, stage production, which then, Tom Hanks, of all people, wants to produce it. Then you get to write the screenplay. You get to act as the lead. Like, that's a dream come true. And I'm very happy that she was able to see that dream come through.
And she got her guy person to be really cute, too.
It's true.
Her co-actor, whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, that was. Oh.
You just admitted that he was cute. You said it was very true.
It's true. No, I admitted it. It's true that I admitted it, but no, I disagree. If you think so, she thought so apparently.
She did.
Or maybe someone else, the producers did, or whoever cast it. I don't know. But yeah, so good job, Nia. We're proud of you. It's just. Not for us.
Yeah.
Not for us. So no shade.
No shade.
No shade. If you ever stumble upon this, I guess, browsing through YouTube one day.
I doubt she would listen to this whole review.
It's true. She'd get like, oh, these guys, they just ramble. They just ramble and ramble. Well, thank you all for listening. We hope you've been inspired to have some more conversations around the movies you're watching. Let us know what you thought about this movie in the comments. Let us know what you thought about our ratings. Let us know if you agree, if you disagree. We're open to being brutally and savagely criticized and told, our opinions suck.
Because at least that means you listened to this.
It's true, right? Let us know if you made it to the very end. And until next time, good film hunting.